Hello and welcome back to my craft room. It is a very dull and dreary day outside today. It's gone all wintry here in my part of the UK. But never fear, it is bright and sparkly on the inside. Let's have a look at what I'm up to today. I'm going to be working on my millefiori project again. So here's where I've got to so far. It's slow going because I've been working on lots of different projects all at the same time. I quite like doing that. It suits the way my head works, flitting a little bit from one thing to another depending on what mood I'm in. So today I'm in the mood for a bit of my millefiori project. Last time I was showing how I made these I'm probably still saying that wrong, style motifs. Here we go, here's the other one, which I really enjoyed and I will definitely be doing more of. It's such a nice way to use the gorgeous stash of embroidery threads that I've got. I used the 3D printed rings that my son Tom made me, but we've had all sorts of suggestions for other things you could use instead if you can't get hold of anything like that. A couple of new ones this week. I was watching Sonia Steptoe on YouTube. I will try and remember to leave a link to her video where she was making some lovely, kind of like the same idea as this, and she was putting one ring inside another. Really clever how she did it. So I'll try and remember to link to that. I'm going to jot that down actually. And she was using wooden rings that she said she got a whole lot from AliExpress or somewhere, so that might be worth looking into. I'm sure eventually Tom will get around to printing some of these. I could put in my Etsy shop, but there's no sign of it happening just yet. The other suggestion was something called fibre washers, which I hadn't heard of, so I had to look up what they were. And I think plumbers and such like use them, and they do look like they might fit the bill. I don't know how much either of those options cost, but it's definitely worth looking into. And we've suggested in the past all kinds of recycled stuff you could try instead. I'm going to be using something else recycled today. I'm going to be using these empty nightlight shells. We had a lovely live stream, Arty Farty Party, last Saturday with lots of beautiful things to give away to our party guests, and I did mention that next month, which will fall on Saturday the 5th of October, is going to be a real humdinger. I have got some lovely goodies lined up to give away to viewers during the live stream, and one of them is going to be this little package. So this is a whole set of the rings that Thomas 3D printed me. Each one of these, so you've got 18 different sizes there and all. Each one of them is stacked 6 deep, so you just peel them off as you want. You can peel off 2 at once if you want a thicker one, or even 3. And there's also a set of Suffolk puff or yo-yo makers. So you've got all it's the same set, it's the same set that I'm using here. So you've got 4 different sizes there. And yes, you can make Suffolk puffs and yo-yos without this gadget. I did so for years until just recently when I got these. But they are lovely to use, they do make it easy. And you do get nice consistent results. And what I'm going to be doing is something like this. I've got 2 of these. This one's definitely my favourite. And what I've done is I've done a Suffolk puff, a larger size Suffolk puff, and instead of just closing it up on its own, I've closed it up around the empty nightlight shell, and then I've put another one inside and stitched them together, and then finally I've put a little bead that has a kind of shank, a loop kind of attachment on the back. So I quite like that because it's all firmly attached, but it still can move about inside the hole. I really like that. I think it'll look nice on my finished piece because it'll be moving around, because this is all going to end up being part of a glorious bag. I'm not worrying about the backs because they're not going to show. And what I did was I used the pokey tool to just make a hole in the shell, which is ever so easy. It's really just like thick foil, to be honest. You can easily poke through it. This one was a little bit different. So I think with that one, yeah, you can see that both the Suffolk puffs are open side up. With this one, I did a smaller one for the middle and did it open side down. I fixed a little sequiny thing in the middle, and I did some stitching then around. And I like, because I wanted to end up with all sorts of different depths on this finished piece. Obviously, as I go out towards the sides of the seams of the bag and the bottom, and the top edge where the handles are, I'll go out more towards the flatter motifs that will be applied directly to the background fabric. That's a way down the line yet. So what I'm going to do today is show you how I made these nightlight ones. Now those are the first two I did, so this is probably going to turn out different again. First thing I've got to do is just get all this wax out. Really easy, you just pull out, you can see I just pulled out that little, this is the little disc that the wick is attached to. Now I'm not throwing these away because I have a feeling I might be able to do something with these later on, because it is again a circular. So I'm going to put this to one side and keep them. And you know, not only are they circular, but they've already got a hole through the middle where the wick went in, because these are the things that hold the wicks. So those aren't getting thrown away either. I've also started saving more beer bottle tops. So these are the sort of unused ones that I had already. This is one, just to show you, this is one that was actually taken off a bottle of beer last night. So you can see it's possible to get the top off without you know, crumpling the cap if you're careful, and you could use it either way up as a centerpiece for one of these type of things. So there we go, I've got my two more or less empty nightlight shells now. I've pulled out just a handful of little scraps. These are from the Bazaar scrap packs, which you know I love, so it's all silks. And then I've got some leery, shiny, sparkly, bright synthetic scraps as well. These were from the bougie scrap packs from Megan Crook Textiles. So that'll be big enough for a centre, won't it? This, I think this would look lovely with that as well as with this. Look at that thingy. Colours aren't quite right on camera. This is a little bit slightly greener blue. This is more turquoisey, this part, and so's this. They look lovely with that green. I had a couple of pieces of this in the Bazaar packs. Now it's quite sheer, but I did think it would be alright for a middle. And I've also got some beads, so I'll put one of these in the centre. And perhaps one of these faceted ones would be nice because they catch the light nicely. So that's probably where those will go. So I just got a decision to make now. It looks really dull on camera, but it's quite a vibrant, it's actually a really vibrant blue. This is the piece that I've got that is big enough to do the outside with. So I'm going to need two of these. So you need to line up the little lines you can see there with these kind of nodules on the outside. Basically what you're doing is this, but with the fabric inside, and it clips into place. Okay. Now I have shown several times before in this series and other projects how to use these Suffolk puff makers, so I'm just going to skip through this bit now, and I'll be back when I'm ready for the next bit. There we go, I've got my first one all ready to close up, so I'm going to take one of the empty nightlight shells. I'm going to make a hole in the centre of it, near enough the centre. I didn't bother measuring. It's a bit off, doesn't matter. I'm just doing that now before I do this, because it'll be more difficult afterwards. And then I've just popped it in the centre there, and I'm just pulling this up. Spread the gathers around reasonably evenly. You have to be a little bit delicate with it, because obviously the sides bend in really easily. Gathered it all up, and now I'll put a couple of anchoring stitches here. That's all gathered up. I'm just rearranging the gathers a little bit to make it as even as I can. So that's the first stage. Now I'm going to make another one in whichever contrasting fabric, if I can make myself decide. So I think that would be quite nice. Also quite like the idea of that one, or this plain one, or a little bit of bling. I think I'm going for the bling. I'm drawn to the bling. So I need a piece that's big enough to go in here. You know, if you haven't got something like this, you could definitely use you know, curtain rings like these, or experiment with the rings from bottle tops, or, you know, see what we can find. It's going to be about the one I'm holding it in there. It's in here, I want to hold it. That's going to be about the right size, because I want it to hold it out in a nice neat circle. Just, yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay. So I'm going to re-thread my needle, stitch this one up, and I'll be back when I'm ready to gather it up again. Take the little disc out. There's my piece all ready to gather up. Put the little 3D printed ring inside and gather up. There we go. I've just gathered that up, leaving a little bit of a hole in the middle because I want to sink my bead in there. Doing a couple of stitches to fasten off. Now, without unthreading my needle, I think I'll just go back down through so I come out there. Never wanted to, if I just wanted a round, a nice smooth round disc there, which could also look quite nice with a button in the middle, couldn't it? And I could do it that way up, but I like the look of this, and I like it with the little bead nestled inside. So I'm going to now find my little hole in the bottom here and take the thread down through. This is where you can see there I put a little patch on the back of just a piece of scrap because I felt like it needed a bit more substance there on the back. So I'll just take a little piece of this here because that's too small to use for anything really. And this is, none of this is going to show because this is where it'll be stitched to the background. I'll do it just taking a tiny stitch and then back through that hole again. To wiggle around a bit to find the hole. Back that through. I'm going to do that a couple of times to secure it, but it's going to have decorative stitching around it as well. So there we go. So that's the beginnings of it. I still can't think of a better name for this one than deep dish. It's the deep dish version. Okay, do I still want this bead? I think so. I think that's rather cute. I don't think the lighting's helping me very much. Oh, it's like a really glamorous cupcake. Now let's hope my needle will just go through this. That would be nice and easy. Yes. So you can see the bead is going to sink down into that second Suffolk puff, which I think looks really nice. Back out through the hole. The other one I did, this one, it has got a kind of loop, a shank on the back. So it'll have more movement than this will, but I still think you'll see that. Ooh, you'll see that little glint of the crystally bead, which I think is rather lovely. Now it only remains to add some extra decorative stitching, which, as well as being decorative, will also help to keep this in place. And with this one, I just made it up as I went along. How did I do that even? Look at that. Let's see if I can remember. I'm going to make this almost like a blanket stitch and see what happens. I'm sort of forming it like a blanket stitch, but I'm taking a loop there and then I'm taking a loop through that bigger puff as well. Let's see what happens if I do that. I don't think it really matters. I think as long as I've got some extra stitch in there to hold it in place and it looks reasonably decorative and it's in a pretty colour. I got a feeling I maybe started like this and then I went back and took I think this is what I did. Yeah, following the same thought process again. Hopefully I'll come out with the same result. Let's see. So I'm going to work my way around doing this. I'm not pulling this too tightly because I don't want to pull it all over to one side of the shell. Yeah. So taking a tiny stitch out of the small puff, straight across, and taking a tiny stitch out of the bigger puff, pull it through, making sure that my thread is on top of that loop, not pulling it too tightly. I'm leaving that quite loose because I don't want to pull it all over to one side. So I'm kind of doing a blanket stitch all the way around. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing there. It's just basically a blanket stitch anchoring the smaller puff inside the bigger one, and I'm leaving the stitches quite loose, ready for the next step, which I think I can remember what I did now. So I'm going to go around and finish that, and then I'll be back. There we go. I finished doing that sort of blanket stitch all the way around, and I think I need to start a new piece of thread, otherwise I'm going to run out part way and it will be annoying. So I've just fastened that off. I'll take it out underneath there and snip it off so I lose the end. Now I'm taking another piece. I think I'll carry on and use the same colour, but you could use a different colour again, I guess. Lose my knot there, come back out up here, not quite up to the ledge this time. I'll come down about, what, not even half a centimetre down from the edge there. And now I'm going to put my needle underneath the loop of that stitch. Bring it back down. Take a little stitch and come out again. And underneath that loop, pull that back. I'm pulling it reasonably firmly now, but not really hard. And then it's quite hard to show what I'm doing, and just taking that tiny stitch again, level with that part of the previous row there. Back up under the loop, another tiny stitch along. So I'm taking little tiny stitches just like that, and then going under the loop of each of those stitches, and that starts to make this kind of crisscross effect along here, and it's just holding those stitches out because otherwise they're all collapsing inwards. So yeah, I sort of made this up as I went along, but I quite like the effect that has. It reminds me of the millefiori pieces that first inspired this project. So I'm going to work my way around and do that one, and then I'll be back again. And that'll be the end of that one. I could do more stitching around here, but I don't think it would show very much, so I probably won't bother. I think that's probably enough. I've come all the way back around to the beginning again now, and instead of taking a small stitch there this time, I'll just go in there and come out the bottom. You can see this silk is quite thin, where it's stretched against the nightlight. It's a little bit fragile, so I'm trying to be careful. There we go. Again, not worrying about what it looks like on the bottom, because you are not going to see that. So that's that one finished. I think it's enough for that. I really like it. I think that will set off some of these. Yeah, I just love having all these different levels. It won't be practical for all over the bag, but it will. Let's move that down a bit to see if you can. Yeah, that shows the colours a bit better. I get a bit nearer. So I'm going to do the same thing again with the next one, but this time I'm going to put the Suffolk puff the other way up, so it'll be the flat side showing. I haven't got a flat one. These will, well, I haven't actually made a Suffolk puff. I've just stretched the fabric over the ring to make like a mini, like an embroidery hoop that stays inside kind of thing. They aren't actually Suffolk puffs as such. So this one is. So if I just, instead of having that part upwards, I'd have it that way. The next morning now, I got sidetracked because my older son, not Tom, the one you know, this is Richard, came for an unexpected visit. He's gone off out for a bit now, so I'm back up here filming this. I made a Suffolk puff again. This is the one that would have turned out 4.5 centimetres. It's this one. If I pulled it up in the normal way, you know, just closed it up completely, like I have with that one, that's the smaller size, and I've just pulled it up to fit fairly snugly around the empty nightlight again. Then I've taken another one of these 3D printed rings, one that will just, the size will fit just nicely inside there, and this one I've not done it as a Suffolk puff. I just cut a rough square and gathered it, and you can see quite haphazardly stitched it on there, and a good blanket stitch around as well. And I think my plan is to just stitch this on here, and I might put this in the centre as well, to layer them up like that and stitch it all the way through, so I need to make my hole in the bottom again. The other option would be to actually put this inside, which I'm tempted to try. So just think, once you start playing with these, there are just so many different things you can do. Can't really see the sparkle so well though. I think I liked the first way better. Just like that. Okay, so I need to make my hole in the bottom, roughly in the middle. So I can stitch it through. Maybe it would help to make 2 holes in the bottom for anchoring it. Yeah, not too close together, so I don't want it to tear. I'm going to use this coordinating thread. Got 2 strands of it there. Start myself off with a knot, and I'm going to begin with this piece. Stitch through a couple of times, and now attach it onto here, and I'm just going to layer them up together. I could put a bead in the centre of this as well, or some more stitching. I've just done a little cross in the middle there. I think that's enough for this one. And now I'm just going to pop this through one of those holes I've made in the bottom, and back up through the other hole. And I want to pull this quite tightly, because my idea is that it will just oops, it would make it sink further into the nightlight, so I've got a bit of depth there. I just like the look of this extra bit of dimension in here. I wouldn't want them all like this, just a few. And with some of them like these, this I will layer up. This I'll layer up. I could even put another one on top again, a smaller one on top, you know. So by the time if you hold them together, that doesn't look so that doesn't look so deep. So I'll get a gradual kind of variation of depth here is what I'm going for. And this will only go on the sort of front and centre of my bag. Almost don't need to make the hole here first, because it's so easy to push your needle through. It's probably not good for your needle bar. Don't matter, I've got a lot of needles. Okay, I'm fairly confident that that's stitched on firmly enough. I'll just go back through the stitches here to anchor it, I think. There we go. Just go back through that loop to knot it off. And yeah, I could add definitely more stitching there. I quite liked the look of just having that yellow circle around there, so I could definitely add something like that by putting a line of blanket stitch all around there. Should we do it? Should we do it? Shall I do a yellow blanket stitch? A little trick with just taking a square and wrapping it around this and leaving the ring in there as a kind of permanent embroidery hoop works really well. I did that with these as well. That one was just started in the same way. You can see they're sort of roughly stitched across. It's just one layer of the silk there. Then I've blanket stitched around the whole thing, and then I've done my extra embroidery in the middle, added a sequin and stuff. A lot of these are done that way. That was done that way as well. This one I did the shisha as well, so I gave myself 2 layers of silk. I just needed a bit more. I think I've done that one in a previous video. This one I've done the same thing but made it a slightly neater circle, and done it the other way up. And when I come to stitch this onto the background, I'll stitch that sequin in and I'll add some more decorative stitching over the top as well. I'm starting to think I'm going to have to put the background into a frame of some kind when I come to applying all of these to the background, along with the other direct applique. Next time, my plan is to do some reverse applique pieces, which will then apply directly to the background, and I'm going to use some of these rings again. But of course, you know, you could definitely do it without these. I think I'm going to enjoy doing it this way. So yeah, I will do reverse applique with layers of these going in towards the middle. So join me next time if you want to see how I get on with that. Start as I did before with a knot layer just to secure my fabric, and then come up through here to start my blanket stitch. So you can see a tiny bit of it there. Oh, that's not going to show because I'll be stitching it to my background. So yeah, just a normal blanket stitch here. I feel like because some of this silk is quite thin, maybe I could have done a double layer here, or put just some fine cotton or something underneath. But I'm not going to worry about it now. Maybe for subsequent ones I will do that though. I don't want to see the nightlight shell underneath. Yeah, I quite like this. So just doing that blanket stitch there from the top, which is what I'll see, you'll just get a yellow line, which I really like. Kind of wondering about putting a bead in the middle now as well. So I might do that later. I'm going to skip through this now and carry on running this line of blanket stitch around here. I'll be back when I've gone all the way around. So here we go, all done. Really happy with those. I think I will kind of further experiment with these. I think there's so many different ways I could do this and use these little night lights. And I think, although, you know, if you're watching this and you don't like all these leery colours and shiny bits, I can imagine all of this done in cottons, you know, different textures, more muted colours, even quite neutral colours. I just think could look really pretty. I can imagine it with like little scraps of lace running around here as well. Really nice. I think they'd look nice inside a box frame or something like that. Anyway, so that is me done for today. Give you an idea of kind of where I'm heading with this. So it will be a really kind of multi-layered, multi-depth thing, especially at the front of my bag, and then going away, blending out towards the flatter pieces. Yeah, this kind of thing will be concentrated at the front, definitely front and center. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. So next time I'm going to be doing some reverse applique motifs, having a go with that. Then I've got a couple more different techniques I want to try after that, and then I'm going to make a whole load more of them and cut out some plain circles, some just circles of all the different fabrics that I can layer up and apply directly to the background. And once I've done all of that and I'm ready to go, I will, I think, get my fabric I'm going to work on into a frame and mark out the bag pattern pieces on it and start arranging the pieces within that and doing my final decorative stitching into them. I'm so looking forward to that. I think the whole process is going to be really fun. It's going to take a while, but then, you know, we do these things because we love doing them, not because we want to quickly make a bag. Okay, enough waffle on for now. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again really soon.